Good day everyone and welcome to another quarterly report. This Friday, Clean Industry Solutions closed their books on the first quarter of 2022. And with me today to comment on the report on link, I have its CEO, Christian Zahler. Good day, Christian.
Hello, Michael. Good day.
We'll begin with the numbers. Sales amounted to 415,000 SEK, an increase by 227% in comparison to last year's first quarter. Total income 2.26 million, an increase from Q1 of 2021 as well, but a slight decrease from Q4. Talk to us about these developments. What are behind them?
Yes. Basically, we are leaving the winter with Corona behind us. We had a good start in the new year. And due to the crisis in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine, we're receiving a lot of requests recently. And this is an unexpected effect, but it's really helping us at the time being. And there is a growing will to become independent from fossil fuels. There as well, so it's a psychological effect, but also the political boundary conditions are improving recently, and this is giving us a real boost.
We'll talk a little bit more about Ukraine towards the end of this interview. However, first I wanted to cover both of your subsidiaries, and we'll begin with SolarSpring. The report mentions a project called Rocka, financed by the European Union. Could you talk to us more about this project and what it's all about and what your role in it will be?
Sure. Our subsidiary SolarSpring got this project granted with some partners in the consortium. And this project is aiming at rebuilding the wastewater treatment plants into wastewater biorefineries that are generating valuable products and that make the processes economically viable and eco-friendly. Or let me say it in other words, the output of a wastewater treatment plant is typically water, and this water is contaminated with ammonia. This ammonia is acting as a fertilizer in the water in the rivers, causing algae growth, which is, again, a problem. And with this technology of SolarSpring, this ammonia can be separated from the wastewater or from the cleaned wastewater streams, and it can be converted to fertilizer, which can be sold on the market. So basically, they're solving a problem and generating revenue with that technology.
SolarSpring will be granted 2.5 million SEK of the total funding of 3.25. How come they didn't receive the full funding?
This is a misunderstanding. Basically, it's a consortium of partners, research partners, and industrial partner, and the total funding volume is distributed over those partners, and each partner gets a certain share of this total funding volume according to their tasks in the project and the workload.
So the funding volume of SolarSpring is reflected in the role it will have?
Yes, so the funding volume of SolarSpring is higher as they are playing a key role in this project. And this is the reason why the distribution of the budget is like that.
I see. We'll move on to industrial solar then. An engineering contract has been signed with Kebe in Greece. The volume of this contract landed on 22,000 euros. I won't go too deeply into the contract itself, but rather the Greek market. Could you tell us about your outlooks there?
Yes, it looks like that the Greek market becomes another key market for industrial solar. We are reaching a critical mass there with leads. There is industry which is highly dependent on fossil fuel, which is coming from Russia mainly, and the prices are high. The solar radiation is good. Many industries are not so densely packed as they are in Germany, so there is more area around available, or at least at the customers that we meet there. And so these are positive. This is a positive constellation. Good boundary conditions for large systems based on solar technologies, be it solar thermal or photovoltaic, or a combination of them.
As the quarter reached its end, Industrial Solar finished the delayed installation of the CCP systems in Qatar. Furthermore, Industrial Solar will also install another system in Germany. Could you talk to us about these projects?
Yes, the system in Qatar is remains from Corona. It was delayed due to the pandemic. We were not able to travel, but it's actually a small, little, but important project at Qatar Foundation. And we have installed there a linear concentrating collector system and added a organic ranking cycle turbine. That's basically a micro CSP system, which is there used for academic purposes, but it has a very good visibility in Qatar, and we see it as strategically important because the relationship between Germany and Qatar is currently being fostered due to the crisis in Ukraine and the German market, which is a need for natural gas or to replace natural gas from Russia. So we see this as a very positive project, and we're looking forward to further projects with Qatar Foundation. And the other project you're mentioning is basically a PV project. We are working our way up in Germany with photovoltaics. So we started to develop this business sector during the pandemic when we were not able to travel. And we're not doing just plain and simple PV. That's not our target. We are aiming at sector coupling, electric demand combined with heat and cold demand, combined with complementary technologies. This is what we are aiming up, and sizes in hundreds of kilowatt or even above for industrial customers. And here we are building the next reference now with 100 kilowatt. And yes, it's so the traction is very well now of our PV unit. And yes, so there are more and more projects coming up, and this is a very good development of the last months.
Something that has been difficult to miss during the quarter was the devastating war in Ukraine that broke out. You mentioned it a few times during this interview. How has it affected the clean industry and its subsidiaries?
Of course, positive and negative effects. I mean, the war itself is something very negative. But for us as the company or as our subsidiaries are offering alternatives to fossil fuel, at least industrial solar is having a rising demand. We're receiving more requests. Customers, industrial customers that want to become more independent from fossil fuel. This is a very strong effect. The bad side or the backdraw of this war is the effect on the supply chain. So the material prices have gone up. They are very volatile. So it's difficult to write quotations to customers. This is the problem. But still, I would say the balance is positive for us because the demand is much higher, and it also has like a psychological effect. So in former times, people were not accepting certain financial boundary conditions or return on invest or payback time, which are now okay for them to accept due to the current conditions. So this has changed the mindset. Independence from fossil fuel has a financial value suddenly, and renewables or the typical cost structures of renewables with a high capex are not seen that critical as they have been seen like last year. It's more like accepted or acceptable.
The war has had immense political and economic consequences, and well, the markets across the world has been declining, and as rates have spiked, financing has also become harder. Would you say the clean industry will need financing in the future? And if so, is the climate more challenging than it was before?
I guess that we will need financing in the future. I think we have some larger projects in the pipeline. We also have to finance growth. I also see that it's more difficult for capital increases at the stock exchange because of this climate, this crisis, this war. So shareholders are not so open to invest in young companies and startups that are not stable yet. But if we don't need renewable energy now, when shall we need it? I mean, now is the time to change. Now we have the traction in the market. And I think I'm not the only one who sees this. And I also think that our shareholders are aware of that situation, that now is the best time to deploy renewable technologies, not only to private persons, but to industry, which is a very reluctant customer. Industry is, dependent on fossil fuel. but they're moving ahead. There is a change starting, and we are well positioned to supply our solutions to industry. And it's the way forward. It's a peacemaking technology, and we're mitigating climate change. So what else should we do?
Indeed. Christian Zahler, that was all my questions, but I thank you very much for your time and wish both you and Clean Industry good luck.
Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye.